Content warning and trigger warning for the following video. There are discussions of mental health and in particular suicide very briefly. If this is something that is an issue for you, not watching the video is perfectly fine. Do you want to leave a little bit of space between us? No, I kind of like how, you know where I'm sat there. I think that's good because we're going to try to be in kind of the middle of this. Because there's just a bit of a gap here. One good reason to watch hospital dramas if you're an aspiring writer is that I feel they have a very recognizable structure. Patient arrives with a problem, it's diagnosed, then complications arise, the doctors try to deal with it, sometimes they might disagree on the best way to proceed. It generates natural and instantly understandable conflict. Still, they're not usually my bag, but the trailer did have me hooked. With Shaw delivering sardonic and snide comments kind of gave me a Blackadder vibe, and for the first episode at least, it does deliver on that. Though I'd be lying if I said that's the feeling I came away with once the whole series had wrapped up. Why did you make this, Adam?
He's hurt and he wants us to hurt too.
Oh, this is going to hurt. Oh, I get it now. So, from the looks of things, Adam Kay seems to have quite a bit of creative control over this series. He's the executive producer, and he's written most of the episodes, I believe, if not all. And the biggest thing I can compliment him on, I guess, is that he does not shy away from depicting himself as anything other than a deeply flawed human being.
Yeah, I agree. He is a very smart man, but he also shows that he has like a massive ego and like problem asking for help.
I'd say he was anti-hero 2.0. So he's not a mythologized genius. He is just an ordinary person who can be good at his job, but he makes mistakes. Disclaimer, I've not read the book, Zim has. Do you think there's like a massive difference between how Adam depicts himself in the book compared to the show, or did his voice come across in both?
I think it's pretty similar, and I like the, those scenes where he's just looking at the camera. Like, because obviously the book, it's a diary entry, so you see it from like Adam's like points of view, whereas like this show is like a drama, so you see more than just Adam. You get Shruti and Lockhart and Julian and like everyone else in it too. But I think like the events, they're pretty similar.
When a drama starts with an inciting incident that's kind of a gut punch, that the rest of the episodes will be exploring the ramifications of. I think there's two ways you can do it. You can go for kind of how Broadchurch went, which was have the heavy moment that kickstarts everything, the first domino to fall. They put that right at the start, but whereas this put this at the end of episode 1. The rest of episode 1 up until then, it kind of plays out how the trailer did, which was, quite witty, a little bloody. But whereas at the end, it's a genuine tipping of the hand of how the rest of the series is going to be, and I think your overall impression of it when everything's wrapped up. I will always commend a series for being able to effectively communicate to its audience and be honest about it while also trying to hook them. You don't even realize that that's going to be the thing the series ends up unpacking at first until the end of the second episode, because it's impacted Adam. He's paranoid afterwards, but it gets towards the end, things start to look better. He's kind of vindicated in being paranoid. He gets back into his boss's good books, and then right at the end he finds out there's been a complaint. And that's when this is not going to go away easy. And this whole thing is just very well structured and paced. So I think this is my go-to example now of how to do a drama where the character, or the main character, has difficulties opening up about how they feel. While it is true, obviously, to real-life mental health struggles, it can say quite a bit about a specific character that they bottle up the feelings, usually often men. I do understand why something like Doctor Who usually consigns the period where the Doctor's not opening up about how they feel or is suppressing something. They usually confine it to one episode. In the hands of a less skilled writer, it can come across like you're delaying character development rather than trying to actively represent a struggle. What I think this does, maybe not uniquely, but it's the clearest way I can find to explain this, is it escalates. We see it break down his relationship at home. We see it wreck his home life. We also see him opening up to the baby that was delivered early, and so he does still kind of open up, but to someone who can't really listen. He can't really do it with his friends or his family. And we also get quite really good visual storytelling, like Tell Don't Show. It's really overused as a criticism, but there's some really nice directions, some really nice sequences, like at a nightclub, or he's at an engagement party and he kind of feels trapped in the hospital. The direction across this was just lovely all across the board.
I guess in like every scene with Harry asks Adam like housework, and he always says, "Oh, it's fine, it's okay." And then even though like you see Adam having flashbacks of like him being in the hospital, having the baby and all that, and you can see how that like broke down his like home life, personal life as well. In this show at the end, you can see Adam like helping the mom deliver that baby in the car, whereas in the book there's been another death of like an infant patient of his who was delivering, something like that if I'm remembering correctly, and that was kind of the last straw for him, and he quit medicine after that. Spoilies.
Oh yeah, spoilers for Adam K's life. He's not a doctor anymore. And so does that mean we might get a series 2?
Possibly, but I don't know how they would play it. Like, they would have to make it extremely more bleak than the first season to get him to quit medicine.
Yeah, that's a point actually, because this does get quite harrowing, and I mean, I've not read the book, so I don't really know the particulars of that, but we would have to see. Maybe Adam K did want to end it on a more optimistic note.
Yeah, the show and his like journal, it's entries from 2004 to 2010, so back then the NHS, it's pretty accurate to what the NHS was back then. It's better now, it's not as bad. They do have more resources, but yeah, they still do struggle. COVID took a big hit in like healthcare professionals and their mental health.
I think how Shruti was handled was done very well, although not everyone is going to agree with that, and not everyone should agree with that. While there are specific don'ts you do with something like this, not everything is going to please everyone. We talked to someone who, a friend of ours who had seen the series, and they didn't like how this was handled.
That friend we were talking to, she thought that bit shouldn't have been added in at all because Shruti's a fictional character. She wasn't mentioned at all in his journal. But for me personally, I think it was a good addition. Mainly because it depicts like what it's like working in the NHS and the severity, the extremes that it could lead to. Yeah, like at the end of it, like Shruti, things seem to be going well for Shruti, but it still wasn't enough.
Commend is that the last day she had, while things were harrowing, things did turn out all right in the end, and everyone was singing her praises. They were giving her compliments. Even Adam was being nice for once. it still wasn't enough. And obviously Adam's damage is slightly different from Shruti's damage, and I think wanting to depict something that wasn't just his experience and his own problems, I think is a salient point. One study looked at 456 junior doctors working in the NHS, and 45% were dealing with severe depression, 60% anxiety, 40% stress, and where it becomes particularly important to Shruti's story is race and ethnicity. They were like significant factors.
Yeah, ethnicity is a big thing, and I'm glad this show added Shruti in, and no, she was like a different race. She was Indian. Coming from an Asian family, it's different for Asian families. At least in my experience, like you can see Shruti when she was talking to her parents. She was telling her parents about all the amazing things she was doing, even though she was doing nothing. I can't speak for all Asian families, but I kind of feel the pressure she was feeling from her parents and like wanting to make them proud. Although she could have just quit the job, I think it is a bit harder if you come from an Asian family. It's seen as failure.
I do think the show communicated sort of how she was feeling pretty well, considering she wasn't the main character. She just came across as trapped.
I really like Ashley McGuire. She played as Vicky and kind of Shruti's mentor.
Stiff upper labia, right?
The conversation she has with Shruti when she kind of just warns her about life. On the one hand, it's the last thing Shruti kind of needed to hear, but I think it was all the advice that Vicky felt that she could give her, and all she felt she could do. But I don't think the series was blaming her for that. I don't think the series is really blaming anyone for what happened to Shruti. Not even Adam, totally. Adam's just responsible for his own mistakes.
Considering she's a consultant, she has a lot more experience than Shruti. And yeah, I guess like after working in those conditions for so many years, you kind of get desensitized to it. Like it becomes a norm. It shouldn't be, but it is the norm.
This also has my favorite fourth wall breaks for me just ever. There's obviously Shruti's. She just gets that one at the end of the second to last episode, right before it happens. But there's also Adam's, where he very guiltily looks into camera once. It's right after he has already said something to the audience. He's trying to convince a patient to drop her complaint, and he says, "Don't judge me." But then later, he just very guiltily glances at the camera. Tell, don't show. It's really overused criticism, but I do like it applied here in a technique that should lead to monologues. That look that he gives the camera just says so much more. I think that's everything. Please go watch it if you haven't already. And as of recording, the Tories are deciding their next leader, and what you're about to see has nothing at all to do with that.
We're doomed. We're all fucked.
Oh, I know, but we can't really say that. So I'm just gonna kind of play this audio quietly over the thing I'm showing about Liz Truss.
Yeah, that's fair. We love the UK.